we kind of feel like we fooled the world a bit, and we've totally fooled the world because of what we choose to
absolutely.
choose to show.
Yeah. Very discerning eye for what we show and what we don't show, and learning how to bring it to life, right? Bring that photo to life and show what it is that we saw in it, But it's cool to hear that you see a sense of adventure in the work, and our roots in mountain adventures, because one of the things that really shifted our work early on is kind of getting back to that, because at first we were trying to be wedding photographers, like fit in that box and do the things that we thought we were supposed to do as wedding photographers. And then we started to realize that, well, weddings are boring. Actually, on the surface, compared to adventure sports, the things that are happening are actually quite silly and boring. But then we kind of shifted our focus into seeing the things that we did find interesting at the weddings. It wasn't the pageantry and the details. It was, in some cases, like the environment that they're in, or, crazy family dramas, or little subtle things that once we like stopped getting distracted by that surface pageantry, and we started to see images that did excite us, that did like speak to us. And so I think that's where that sense of adventure.
Yeah. I think wedding photographers often, we're guilty of this as well. We get distracted by the pretty, and what we need to be looking for is the beautiful. And something doesn't have to be pretty to be beautiful.
I agree. There's a lot of perfectly imperfect moments that we overlook because we have a preconceived notion of what a wedding should be.
And then when we drop those preconceptions and those expectations about, what's supposed to happen, what the photos are supposed to look like, all of a sudden we allow the weddings to be unique and unexpected and different because we allowed them to. We haven't tried to make it fit something else.
One of the interesting things that I found, so the type of work that you guys create, and what I want to figure out the way to say this that would be most fitting, but when you look at like traditionally what is published in Grace Ormond and these high-end kind of wedding magazines, and the way that the world looks at a wedding, it's not your guys' photographs. And would you guys agree with that?
I've actually got a story about Grace Ormond, because we had Grace Ormond reach out to us very early about they wanted to shift their perspective. And the lady that called me, can you just...
Their audience. I'm just supporting your story here, babe.
You get me off.
Don't worry.
The lady that called me, she's like, Grace Ormond looked at your work herself, and she's like, this is what we need. This is different. And she's like, totally. I'm like, she got me all riled up and excited. And then I started to submit weddings, and the first one was rejected because the bride wasn't beautiful enough. Were their exact words.
Pretty much. Yeah.
The bride was not pretty enough. And I pulled out of that so fast. But I'm sure I could come up with a really good pun for that, but
that's what.
I would agree. Like all of those examples you just listed, those traditional kind of gatekeepers, I would say, we definitely don't fit that mold.
And so where I'm going with this is like, it's very interesting because the type of work that you create, it brings aboard a client that sees the world in a very similar way. In my mind, at least that's the way that I think that this would happen. And what I think I made this guess last time that we talked. I wanted to put you guys into one of my presentations. And so I had a conversation with you guys, and I said, if I had to guess, I would think it's other artists and creatives that are hiring you guys the most. And you guys said, yes, most of the time it is other artists and creatives that are hiring us. Is that still correct, or is that?
I wouldn't say most of, as in, the
so I should probably change my presentation.
But relative, I would say relative to most other wedding photographers, yes.
We basically, I feel like we get two main types of clients. The one type is the person that really values good photography and has very similar values to us. They're not about the centerpieces. They're about giving their guests a really good experience where everybody has fun, and it's all about the experience as opposed to the pageantry.
And having photos to help them remember that experience.
And then the second type of client is the one that hires us because they think we're the best.
Okay.
And we shoot those 2 weddings the exact same way.
Yeah.
We don't change the way we shoot, but there's definitely a difference between.
So one client has bought into the work, like the work itself speaks to them. And then the other client has bought into the propaganda. It's the credentials that speak to them. Right.
So that's the kind of fascinating part for me, because from a kind of marketing perspective, I've been asked several times about your guys' work when I'm teaching like business, and they say like, how do I get the type of clients that will allow me to shoot this? And they'll show examples, you know, your ball shot, your shots going above, like the shower shots, how do I get my clients to do that? And I go, first, you need to show it. So like, first, you can't like go to a Jewish wedding and go expect to create that kind of images and then be able to market. You have to have a body of work that shows this. And then you have to actually show that work and find the clients that resonate with that. And you probably are not going to mix and match those, meaning your site right now is all Jewish Orthodox weddings. You don't expect to keep that market and show this type of work. That those two things don't go together.
That's
so
true.
It's like I feel like people lose this notion of like, you guys are creating for yourselves, and what you end up finding, the people that come to you are people that see the world like yourselves, that have similar values, or that simply look at it as I had Lanny and Erika shooting my wedding, which we get plenty of those too. My question is for the people that like for the people that are doing it and hiring you guys for the namesake, are they ever
Which is
like
not very often, to be honest?
No.
But
it's not that often? Okay, because I'm curious whether because they come in with all these notions of like they're not they haven't been sold by the work, they're sold by the brand, right? So when they see the work, are they thrown off when they're like, oh, I didn't get traditional, you know, like where are all my traditional family and bridal, you know, portraits and the shots that I would put into, you know, Grace Ormond? Where are all those? Do they ever come back and say?
No, because I mean, early on, yes, but now we've got a whole strategy in place to prevent that. So regardless of why they've found us or chosen to inquire, they can't hire us until we have a face-to-face conversation about their wedding. And that's our opportunity to be completely transparent about our approach, right?
Set the expectations.
Exactly, about what to expect from us. And as we're doing that, one of two things is happening. Either A, they're like, yeah, that makes sense. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Or it becomes blatantly obvious that we're not the right fit and they don't hire us.
Mm-hmm.